$1,000,000, we fly to Rio de Janeiro.
What the hell am I looking at?
May the Schwartz be with you.
Well, for those who didn't tune into my last video, I just gotta say this. Surprise! All season long on Vaulting, we are taking a look at the filmography of Mel Brooks. He is turning 100 this year, so why not honor that by looking into the highs, the lows, the golden era of the 1970s, the silver era of the 1980s, and his short-lived bronze era that was the 1990s. Now, last time we looked at The Producers, his first movie, and while it's not a full-on parody, it's one that people remember pretty well, especially considering there's a Broadway show based off of it. However, his second feature film, The 12 Chairs, kind of goes overlooked. Sure, this one gets a lot of talk when people bring it up in conversations, but this one is kind of left in the dust. And in my opinion, I think it's one of his most underrated titles in his collection. Mel Brooks was suggested to adapt the novel by Russian satirical writers Elof and Petrov by comedian impersonator Julius Green, who was also a good friend of Brooks. After reading it, Mel enjoyed it so much that he felt it was good enough to make a movie out of. And after watching it, I can see why. The 12 Chairs is a major departure from Mel Brooks' usual quirky and zany comedies, but he understands the source material very well. Set in a time after the Russian Revolution, the story centers on a village clerk named Ippolit Vorobyaninov, who once lived as a pure aristocrat. He learns from his dying mother-in-law that she hid the family jewels in a set of dining chairs to avoid them from being stolen. The problem is the 12 chairs were seized by the state, as under communistic rule, nothing was considered personally owned. So Vorobyaninov goes off to find them and runs into a con artist named Ostap Bender, who offers his help, but only as a means to get the jewels. And if things weren't complex enough, a Russian priest named Father Fyodor also heard of the family's secret when administering the last rites, so he abandons the priesthood and seeks the jewels out for himself before the other two do. Will Vorobyaninov recover the family jewels before he does? Will Ostap backstab his new partnership? Do you dare think I will give away the ending, which is so good to the point I can't spoil it? For the most part, it would have been so easy to repeat the same elements that made The Producers unique. Some of those elements do exist here, but without the cost of repeating themselves. There is a buddy comedy story at the baseline, but with the personalities being changed. Instead of two opposite feelings, it's two different social classes, which works in the movie's favor. The character of Vorobyaninov is identifiable, given he longs to the aristocratic lifestyle he once carried, but is now impoverished due to the change in social climate. Man to boost, you have Ron Moody in the role, which really helps you sympathize with him. Yeah, that's Fagin from Oliver.
My chairs are in a museum. I never realized they were so valuable.
The situation, I'm a bad un, and the bad un I shall stay.
And, arguably, I think this is his best role to date. The story gives Moody a lot to work with as he struggles to locate the chairs. And I love how Vorobyaninov starts off as a quiet character, but as things progress, he gets desperate for the jewels, almost to the point of insanity.
My chairs. It's mine, you understand? Mine! All mine!
He starts off playing fair and doing research. However, once the situation gets worse when most of the chairs they find don't carry them, you start to see him get demented in a maddening sense. Even to the point he will literally defy gravity just to grab another chair that may or may not have the gems. Now that's both funny and intense. And I like the chemistry he has with Ostap, played by Frank Langella. It's the pairing of the low wealthy with the street-smart grifter, a plot trope that I always enjoy. And even the character is kinda cool too, for both how he's written and the performance. This is a rogue so smooth that he will just simply talk bullshit and you will buy it.
She fainted just outside the door. I'm giving her artificial respiration. How dare you allow a frail creature like this to carry heavy bundles? Has she ever fainted before?
Never. Maybe once, I don't know.
You can tell this is someone who's been on the streets and knows his way around. And to boost is Frank Langella, who plays it so charming that it's hard not to hate him. Most of the time, you do question if he's with his new partner for the jewels or just to help him out. Though, most likely it's for the jewels, but you gotta love the lengths he will go to. They even lead to some really funny banter, like how they join a theater troupe on a ship to see if the chairs they have do contain the jewels. So Ostap claims they're fine actors, but when that turns up false, they get tossed out in a very funny edit. But then it gets immediately followed up by this. Ostap is taking the boat and claims he's going elsewhere, while Vorobyaninov convinces him to not give up seeking the jewels. He gets so desperate to the point he swims out to Ostap and nearly drowns. Now, Ostap does save him, but it seems almost reluctant. And the next shot shows them rolling off, but look at Ostap's face. You can't tell if he pities the guy or wonder if helping him out was a mistake. It's a subtle glance that really defines the relationship, which also makes the movie so good. There's a lot of quiet moments and spots that lets the audience fill in the blanks. It's all ambiguous to the point it makes the emotional aspect stronger with each viewing. There's even a scene near the end when Ostap decides to break away from his new partner, who is literally clinging on to a dream that is dying. Vorobyaninov refuses to let go, while Ostap just wants to move on, knowing there's literally no value left for their partnership. I can't go into the details because it's a major plot point, but again, there's so much you can analyze here, from the body language and how these two work off each other. It's subtle, but really hits the emotion home. But there's also some good comedy too. Dom DeLuise steals the whole show as the antagonistic Father Theodore. Thank goodness it was Mel's wife, Anne Bancroft, who suggested Dom to play the part, or else we would not have Dom and other collaborations down the road. This is again a case where the writing and the performance works very well together. I enjoy how the Theodora character is particularly eager to find the chairs and will do anything to find them. There's a great set piece where he finds a couple that he thinks are the chairs, and when they obviously reject him, Theodora stalks them to the point until they say yes. Now, that's hilarious, and I think that's also due to how good Dom's timing is. This is a character you want to love to hate, but enjoy his pitiful nature, while also enjoying his just deserts humiliation. There's a moment when he thinks he failed in finding the jewels and starts to question his mortality in a fit of hopelessness. He immediately prays, debates about taking his life, yet he's too vulnerable to even try and off himself.
I must not weep. I must count my blessings. My blessings. I don't want to live!
Again, that's funny and very deep to the character. And without a life goal, one will always see if there's any purpose left they have to live. And the moments when he bumps into the heroes are just really too funny. There's sped up chase scenes that get a solid laugh just from how they communicate the level of absurdity at display, especially when you consider how manic everyone is over a set of dining chairs. Even Mel Brooks gets a few laughs in a supporting role as Vorobyaninov servant Tikhon. It's a small part, but it's crucial to the story. There's a character who's sort of stuck in the middle who should enjoy his free life, but is too accustomed and dedicated to his old job that he can't separate from his old ways.
There isn't a spare bed in all of Russia. People are sleeping between each other. And you're talking spare bed. You'll make me laugh. Wah, 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 wah.
This would be a first, as Mel Brooks would provide himself a supporting role, at least until silent movie broke that tradition. Though here, it happened by accident. Originally, Brooks wanted a British actor, but he got sick. Mel Brooks decided to fill in given his Russian-Jewish heritage, and I feel that adds a layer of authenticity. Watching him perform in The 12 Chairs, it does make me wonder how he would have been taking a dramatic role. Not only does he get some funny lines, don't get me wrong, but his performance is less exaggerated compared to the others, and it feels somewhat natural. Like, this is a guy that carries much history with his master, and is a part of Vorobyaninof's life that is nostalgic, but now appears dirty and not as golden. On a technical aspect, this movie looks gorgeous. There's a lot of wide shots and beautiful on-location landscapes that look really like something out of a 1960s epic like Dr. Zhivago. And a lot of it was filmed in Yugoslavia, and Mel does a really good job in making it appear like 1920s Russia. You definitely feel like this is a post-era that once dedicated itself to upper class is now painted over with poverty due to the social change. According to Mel Brooks' memoir, filming in Yugoslavia was wonderful, yet challenging. A lot of the transportation at the time was mostly horse and wagon, so there was no need to rent one outside the country. They had no cars, with the exception of Yugoslavia's prime minister at the time, Josip Broz Tito. The water was said to be undrinkable, save for a bottled water that was really a mild laxative. And at nighttime, the entire city was lit by 2 or 3 30-watt bulbs. And there were times when the Yugoslavian film crew were helpful, just as long as you're on the same page as they were. Mel Brooks recounted one incident where he was so frustrated during a shoot, there was something faulty with the camera, and he was so annoyed to the point he grabbed the director's chair he was sitting in and threw it into the Arctic Sea. The Yugoslavian film crew were very upset by this. Why? Because that very chair Mel chucked belonged to the people. In a communism-based country where a director's chair was given to Brooks by the people of Yugoslavia. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Once Mel was told of this, he quickly apologized to the Yugoslavian film crew, who were a thumbnail away from quitting, and they immediately rekindled their amended friendship by sharing brandy shots. I so wish I was making this up. Can you imagine the wars that would be avoided or easily ended if it was all just a simple sorry, 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 and hey, let's have a nice brandy shot to our close rekindledness? If only making amends were as simple as that. There's an anti-communism theme going on that is subtle, but not too in your face.
It's not yours.
Then whose is it?
It's nationalized property. It belongs to the workers.
Please give me that paper. It's personal property.
Oh, haven't you heard? There is no personal property in the Soviet Union. Everything belongs to the people.
Maybe the Holy Father is a member of the Communist Party. Maybe. But the party is for atheists. How can a priest join the party?
In fact, you can all sum up in one scene when Vorobyaninov goes back to his former mansion and he imagines himself as the wealthy person he once was. This can be interpreted as being nostalgic for a past golden moment or fantasizing the life he wants when he gets the jewels. Now, this doesn't make him a cynical person, just someone during the time who wants to either relive the glory years or reclaim those moments of wealth. Even characters summarize the after effects without going into it, even if the change was positive or negative for everyone. It doesn't speak for one side, it presents it just as it was.
One night, about 10 years ago, was a fearful noise. It was bombs and cannons and soldiers shooting. It was terrible, terrible.
Oh, yes. I think it was called the Revolution.
That was it. The revolution.
It's not hammered in, and you do get a feeling of how one major event can change up the status quo. Much like how Brooks lampooned the Third Reich in his last feature, he sums up the social climate in this opening song, Hope for the Best and Expect the Worst. Even if all these promises of change and things are said to be done for the good of people, they clearly don't. And the lyrics do a great job expressing that pessimistic tone post-revolution. The story goes is that Mel almost didn't write the song until his wife Anne Bancroft convinced him that he could. 3 hours later, and after hammering some stuff on the piano, he wrote the tune and set it to a Moldovan folk song. It's catchy, witty, and really fits in with the movie's theme of how life is made up of positives and negatives, and it's just something to go with.
I knew a man
spend it, then he died the day he planned to go and spend it shouting, live while you're alive.
But it's more so important to prepare when things don't turn out the way they should. In a sense, that also adds to the ending, which I will not ruin. I will say it does involve our leads finding out what became of the final chair and the fate of the jewels, which makes you wonder if the choice they made was a good or a bad one. It's a really clever twist when you consider how Vorobyaninov reacts to this reveal. Prior to that, you really see the madness and greed of finding his inheritance get the best of him. It's such a long trek of smashing chairs and chases to the point it becomes a gamble. The more aggressive Vorobyaninov gets about finding them, the less enthusiastic Ostap becomes. Now there is one major difference between the ending of the book and Mel's adaptation that should be addressed. Spoiler alert. Upon discovering the final location of the very last dining chair, Vorobyaninov was going to kill his partner. Oh yeah, that is how the book ends. Oh yeah, and the final thing of the jewels still remains the same, but seriously though, that is a touch too dark, and even Mel himself said he wasn't going to go in the route of the source material and do a bit different. And he was rightfully so in that choice. It's a change that works out as it follows with a common theme with a great majority of Mel Brooks' movies about what is more valuable, wealth or love. In The Producers, Max and Leo realize the value of a friendship is more than just making money. Here you have two characters that start off with nothing because of the revolution, and they find their own partnership holds more value. You can only have two things in life, riches or togetherness. And in some cases, the bigger treasure of all is just having someone in your life. So, The 12 Chairs is certainly a much different feature as you can tell, and yeah, you can kind of guess why this movie is not talked about as much.
The 12 Chairs.
That smells good. The 12 Chairs. 12 Chairs was a failure.
Why was it a failure?
It was a failure. It was too good. Sometimes I'm terrific and sometimes I'm rotten.
Now, granted, The 12 Chairs was a critical hit, but it was still a box office flop, despite its $1.5 million budget. For Mel's second movie, maybe doing something a little sophisticated was not the way to go, given it was following up his zanier debut with The Producers. Folks seem to fondly remember Mel for his more out-there parodies and comedies for how wild and crazy they are. And this one kind of goes very unnoticed, despite being included in some home video collections, like this one. That's just sad. Sometimes it doesn't hurt for a director to try something different and see what else he can create. If it wasn't for the next couple of films, I wonder what this alternate timeline where Mel Brooks made more artistic comedies would be. Then again, we wouldn't have Young Frankenstein or Spaceballs, but it's fascinating to consider what it would have been like if he made another movie in a similar fashion to The Producers or The 12 Chairs. Even Mel himself was speechless of his own work when he watched the final cut for the first time and felt it was a masterpiece. And I feel the same way. The setup is good, the cinematography is beautiful, and the performances alone are just top-notch here. Sure, it lacks the screwball nature of his other work, but this is a hidden gem that I think is worth digging up. So that said, I do recommend The 12 Chairs, but with this little mindset. It's very different from the other movies that Mel Brooks would do, so bear in mind, it's not as out there, crazy, or nutty as one would expect. It has a much more different mindset. If you go in knowing exactly the kind of movie it is, you should be okay. And if not, well, don't worry. This is just his second flick. Because next time, we're going to do something everybody remembers.
Hope for the best, expect the worst. Some drink champagne, some die of thirst. No way of knowing which way it's going. Hope for the best, expect the worst. Hope for the best, expect the worst. The world's a stage, we're unrehearsed. Some reach the top, friends, while others drop, friends. Hope for the best, expect the worst. I knew a man who saved a fortune that was splendid, and he died the day he planned to go and spend it, shouting, live while you're alive. No one will survive. Life is sorrow, here today and gone tomorrow. Live while you're alive. No one will survive. There's no guarantee. Hope for the best. Expect the worst. You could be Tolstoy or Fanny Hurst. You take your chances. There are no answers. Hope for the best.
Cut.
You ever see the guys? Ever interviews with these types?
Yes. Oh, it's very intense. You know, with your kind of introspection, it's very difficult to get to the heart of what really is Mel Brooks.
Yes, but it's hard. I don't know what the essence of myself is, but I know that everybody who loves me has good taste. You know what I mean? And those who don't like me are tasteless bores.
You can't see it.
What?
It ain't out yet.
What?
Mel Brooks' new comedy western.
What?
Blazing Saddles.
What?
Blazing Saddles.
But saddles don't blaze.
Blazing Saddles.
No, that's wrong. Something's wrong.
Blazing Saddles from Warner Brothers, the studio that gave you The Jazz Singer. Blazing Saddles. Rated R.